are here with the new principal of Biddeford High School, Mr. Sirois. What made you want to get involved with education?
I actually decided to do it when I was in my second year of college. I originally wanted to be a psychologist, and realizing that I didn't like those classes, I decided that I would make a shift, so I took an education class, and I loved it.
All right. What prompted you to come to Biddeford High School?
There were a bunch of reasons. One is I'm a community member, so at some point my kids are going to come through these doors and take the classes and be with the teachers. So I wanted to make an impact for them. The other is I saw this as a up-and-coming school, a place where I could come and really try to make a mark. So that was exciting to me.
What has been the hardest change for you since coming to Biddeford?
That's interesting because I talked to my wife about this last night. The hardest change has really been that I'm not really involved in discipline anymore. When I was in York, I did everything. I was always involved in discipline. I was always in the classroom. Here, it's when you become a principal, it's more meetings, and your day is taken up by meeting with this person or meeting with that person. And I joke with people that I'm going to change my name to Got a Minute, because everybody comes in and says, you got a minute to talk to me about this or that, and that's been the biggest change, is that I'm less with kids and more with adults.
Do you like that you're less involved with discipline, or would you rather be
I like to have my hands in everything.
Yeah.
Because my approach may be a little different than the old principal in terms of discipline, and if I want to make some changes in our rubric and how we do things, I've got to be involved a little bit.
Yeah.
Mr. O'Brien and I have talks every day about why we're doing things, some of the changes that we're making around that, because I really want to keep kids in school and not constantly putting kids out of school. So every day we have conversations about how we can do things differently to keep kids here.
Given your sense of the school up to this point, what do you think you will need to succeed as principal at our school?
Patience. Lots of help. This is a big building. It's a big school. It's been a school that for many years hasn't gotten its due, and that's not my job. Isn't to change everything in Biddeford High School. My job is to take it from where it is and bring it to the next level. And in order to do that, I need staff, I need kids, I need the community to all buy in to what I'm trying to do. We're trying to change the culture here. Really trying to make it a place where everybody wants to be. We've got to ramp up our academics. Next year there's going to be some sort of schedule change. And part of that is because our kids have struggled on the SAT, and that, whether it's right or wrong, that's where we get judged. And so I need kids taking English and math all year. So our schedule is really going to reflect what I need kids to be doing in the classroom, what I need teachers to be getting out of those kids. So it's going to take a lot of help and a lot of patience and a lot of understanding from a lot of different people.
So other than academics and stuff, what's your vision for the school? What do you want to change or improve?
There are two things that I looked at besides the schedule and curriculum and all that stuff that I needed to fix when I got here. One is attendance. Mr. Fletcher is great and he's doing a great job, but in order for me to be successful, I need him to really be phenomenal.
Yeah.
So we can't change anything if kids aren't coming to school. And so far, our attendance is pretty good. That starts to get tested as it gets colder. We get a lot of kids that walk to school, and that becomes a challenge. The other thing is, everything that I heard when I was interviewing for this job was people want to see their principal. They want him visible. So the thing that I really have been trying to change and have been doing is trying to be at everything. And try to be out in the halls as much as I can and just getting to know people. I love kids, I love being around kids, and sometimes the only chance I get is in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, when we're hurting and making sure they don't go down the hallway, or in between classes, or going in to read during CLB. Just so that they see me and they know that, yeah, I'm in charge of the school, but I'm not a scary guy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm friendly. I like to have fun with kids, but it's also very businesslike.
What do you think makes a good principal?
It's a good question. I think what makes a good principal is somebody that is able to multitask, somebody that's able to connect with kids and adults, has clear expectations, and I think the biggest thing is not afraid to go out on a limb on his own or her own, and say, this is what's right for our school, this is what's right for our kids, and this is what we're going to do. So I think those are some pretty good characteristics.
When you visit a classroom, what are the first things you look for as a sign that the classroom is effective or in place?
I look at kids first thing, and I look to see who's paying attention and why they're paying attention. Then I look to see what the teacher's doing to capture their attention. You know, if I walk into a classroom 10 times and every time the teacher is at the board writing things down and the kids are taking notes, that's a problem. You know, so I want to see kids engaged. I want to see smiles on kids' faces. That, you know, my son's in first grade, and when he comes home and he's done something really cool, you can see that light bulb, and it just kind of turns on. And he loves reading and he loves going to school. I want to see that when I walk into a classroom, see kids that are just loving what's happening in the classroom. And that's happening more and more as I walk into classes. You can see that kids are really enjoying their teachers. It's not everywhere, but it's in a good portion of the classes where we're doing some really good things.
What are some things that catch your attention when you're walking around Lake School?
How many kids we have? I mean, we get a lot of kids. When I'm walking the hallways, we get kids that are really doing what we ask them to do. I mean, if you walk through the hall during a class, there's nobody out in the hallway. And that's one of the things when I got here was, we got to clean up the hallways. Kids have cleaned up the hallways. I mean, kids are in classrooms. You know, the kids here are no different than the kids that I had in York. They want to be cared about. They want somebody that will talk to them. It's really been fun, you know, getting to know kids, and I think that's the biggest thing that I've figured out since I've been here is that our kids are no different than the kids in York or the kids in Falmouth or wherever. I mean, kids are kids, and they're great. I mean, there hasn't been a situation yet where I've said, what the heck did I do?
Describe the role you feel parents should play in the operation of school.
Well, I think they should be a part of it. I mean, one of the things that I've done since I've been here is I had to hire a lot of people. Roughly 10 hires in 2 months. You know, so we've had quite a changeover of staff, and it's continuing with people that take different jobs, and you know, I've got to hire another person hopefully this week. And throughout that process, we had kids and we had parents involved in it, because it's one thing to have teachers and administrators make decisions. It's another thing to include community members. And if I'm going to have effective teachers and effective staff in this building, I've got to use parents, and I have to use kids because they're the ones that are going to be learning from them. So I think any decision that is made, we try to incorporate parent input as well as students. So I think they play a huge role. You know, I don't think it's as big a role as everybody thinks. You know, I kind of oversee everything, but it really is about how I carry myself. But also, I mean, as students, you spend almost 7 hours a day with your teachers. I mean, it's really their role to develop character, and it's your parents' role, you know, or your guardian's role to do that. You know, I have a small part in that just by the small amounts of time I spend with people. You know, what I will say is, I think that kids in a short amount of time know how I carry myself and know what I expect. You know, whether it's at a game, whether it's at a dance, whether it's in the hallways or in classrooms. You know, so I think my small interactions with people, they get a sense of what we're trying to do here, but it's really the teachers that
Yeah, have
you
like
know,
the biggest impact.
they're the ones that really have a huge impact. So that is really good. I think the hardest decision I've had to make outside of day-to-day stuff is really leaving York, because it was a place that I was comfortable. I've had 2 jobs in my career. One is I spent 6 years as a teacher, and leaving that to become an assistant principal was gut-wrenching. Because once I'm at a place, I really get attached. And leaving York and those kids and all the work that I've done over 8 years was really hard. You know, and it's still hard because I get text messages and phone calls and emails from them saying, the new guy's not doing it this way, or will you come back, or will you do this? But in a sense, that's helped me to understand that this is absolutely where I want to be. You know, I've said, no, we got great things going on here, and I want to be around for a long time to see that happen. So it was hard to leave, but I don't think there'd be any place that I'd rather be right now. I think the biggest accomplishment was last year when the senior class had me speak at graduation. Similar to Biddeford, there's always a faculty representative that speaks to the senior class. And for them to choose the assistant principal was kind of shocking. So I think that was it. That told me I had sort of arrived. I want them to think that we have hardworking, respectful kids. You know, I don't want people to walk in this building and think we have a bunch of kids that don't want to be here, or kids that aren't ready to learn, or kids that are just disrespectful. I want them to think that we run a first-class operation.
What discipline standards have you found to be effective when dealing with students?
Not black and white. Every kid's different, and when I was in York, I had a rubric that I sort of went by, but I would use it, I'd go off of it, you know, depending on the kid and the situation, because how I deal with a kid really depends on what's going on at home, kind of the strides that they've made as they've been there. You know, really try to treat them as people. You know, the things that I am black and white on are really drugs and alcohol and bullying and harassment. Those are black and white.
Yeah.
I mean, those are things that you have to be black and white on. You know, getting in trouble in class, cutting class, those are things, depending on the kid. If I want kids in school, I gotta be able to kind of massage that a little bit. And that's where the gray really shows up.
Mm-hmm.
What is your philosophy on discipline? Kind of like a similar question, but
I think it's really about being fair. And it's not always gonna make everybody happy, but in the end, I mean, if I've got to suspend a kid, I want them to leave knowing that I'm doing what I think is right by them. Not leaving thinking, you know, Sirios is really messing with me. You know, he's just kicking me out anytime he has a chance. I want people to just really think that every situation is, I've thought about it, it's fair, and it's something that I can live with.
Alright. At the end of your career, what would you like your students to say about you?
Hopefully not, thank God he's gone. You know, I just want them to really think that I had an impact on them in some way. Whether they think I'm fair, a good guy. That's secondary. I want them to think that they got the most out of me and I was able to get the most out of them.
Alright, is there anything else you'd like to say or anything?
No. I'm all set.
Alright, well, it was nice to interview you.
Nice talking to you too.